Are you experiencing any changes in your life? Are you wondering if it's a good thing or not?
Even though it doesn't feel good, can separation from familiar people be a good thing?
Well, let's talk about this because I know my life continues to have periods of change. I bet yours does too. In fact, right now we're in this great period of change. I had this very stable life, community, teaching, and it was pretty, it was not pretty good, it was really good. Then all of a sudden, the winds of change came and opportunities were in front of me, and I was invited to speak here and to speak there. And change was a massive part of my life. The good thing about change is this: it does shift you. It does move you in a direction maybe away from things that are comfortable and normal, but without that, it's impossible to move forward. And I know for me, as I moved forward, my income increased, my relationships got better, and my heart was even more connected to the God that I know has a plan for my life.
I think, too, if we look in the world today, Yana, there are a lot of changes going on.
Oh, boy.
And it has thrown people into some chaos in their life. It's thrown them into feeling very separated from different people. They weren't allowed to go in and be with people. They weren't allowed to do the normal things in their life. Change is a big deal.
It's a really big deal. So, are you at that place? Have you been in that place recently? I'd love to hear your comments. You could just give a thumbs up and say, yep, been there, done that, or I'm there right now.
When we look at change, we sometimes allow ourselves to go into a place of anxiety called separation anxiety, because we do not know about what is ahead of us. A lot of times we like to know the plan, but if we could just tell ourselves, relax, it's going to be okay, and allow these changes to come in, sometimes they're the very catalyst that we need to move forward.
I love to remember this statement. It's another one of those ancient statements, and it says this: everything works out for the good, for those that love God. And however we look at God, however we understand Him, most people understand that there's a God who loves us and that there's a love from our hearts to Him. So basically, if we'll just trust the universe, if we'll just trust the God who created us, that everything is going to work out for us, it usually does. Have you found that in your life? Can you relate to that in any way? Just leave us a comment there, because I'd love to know your story as well. Everything works out for me. I tell myself that right in the middle of the changes. What would that be like for you if right now in your life you just began to say that? I can tell you this: the universe will provide that right for you. Everything works out for me. And you will find that, in fact, that begins to be true.
I think of an ancient story of Abraham and Lot. They were related. They had lived their life together. Everything was good until one day things became chaotic between the families. There were quarrels, there were arguments, and all of a sudden, separation became the only thing that would bring peace between those two families. There are two ways we can look at it. This is a bad thing, or this is a good thing, and allow those particular paths to begin to direct the course of life. If you look at the story of Abraham, they came to an agreement and allowed the separation to happen. And it says Lot lifted up his eyes, began to go his path, and Abraham began to walk his path out. I think there's a Hebrew word that is associated with this, Yana, that is really good to bring in this particular story. That it says they were no longer able to dwell together.
Well, that Hebrew word for together, or meaning, actually it says in Hebrew, shoulder to shoulder, which means unity and oneness. That word in Hebrew is the word yachad. Yachad. It is a derivative or related to the word for one, echad. Now the word echad in Hebrew, do you remember?
Oh, of course I do. It's like this. You have a cluster of grapes. There are many grapes on one cluster, echad, but each of those grapes are individual.
So that is the Hebrew word. Yachad means to be together. Well, what happens in life when the ones that you've been together with, there comes this separation because you're moving forward, they're moving forward. Our nugget for you today is this: to remember that there is a plan for you and that everything always works out for you. If you carry that on the inside, as you are moving away from Yachad into the new things that are planned for you, into the great new frontier adventure that's in front of you, your heart will be able to stay in the place that will allow you to experience all that is good, all that the universe is ready to provide for you.
I think it's important too that we realize oftentimes when separation comes or change comes, it's allowing you to find your true identity, who you really are. Because it's now saying, I've been one with this person, but the separation has come now so that I can find out truly who I am. And in the case of Abraham and Lot, eventually their lives came back together again, and they were reunited and peace still existed.
I love that part of the story. So just because the paths part doesn't mean that they'll stay apart. And as we embrace this new place in life, the changes, and as we remember that everything works out for us, we'll be able to navigate these changes in a way that is better than forgetting that and just living in the chaos. That's what God has for you, a better way, because everything always works out for you. Now, if you'd like to know more about, does God have a plan for my life? Make sure you watch the next video.